Artisan bread loaves are impressive to behold, but can be challenging. With the right tools, it's possible to get consistent, home-baked results that rival that of any professional kitchen. Today we will be using the new Creuset bread oven to make a round artisan loaf. There are cheaper options if you search for a cast iron double Dutch oven on Amazon. Start by adding artisan blend flour to your stand mixer fitted with a dough hook. Add your yeast to one side of the bowl and salt to the other side. This allows the two to mix evenly together within the flour. Stir it together with your dough hook attachment on low speed. Slowly pour your warm water into the flour while the mixer is running. After a few minutes, turn the mixer off and punch down the dough towards the bottom of the bowl. This will allow you to collect any remaining crumbly bits that haven't incorporated into the dough. Now we can turn our mixer speed up to medium for about 8 to 10 minutes to knead the dough. Okay, so here's a learning point for both of us. At this point, I'm fighting with the dough way too hard because it's too stiff. What should happen is the dough wraps around the dough hook and it slings it around the bowl. What is happening here is because the dough is too stiff, it's getting pushed around the bowl. This is where art meets the science of baking. I should have trusted my gut and added more water than the recipe called for. This should have made the dough more pliable for the hook to grab onto. Also, you can see my mixer is bouncing around a lot. I need to adjust my mixer head, which I can show you how to do in a later video. Here you can see I have worked the dough enough to overcome the stiffness. The hook finally grabs hold of the dough the way that it should. It's been about 10 minutes total at this point, and the dough passes the window pane test. If you can see the light through the dough when stretched, then the gluten has properly developed and it's done. Now we can place the dough ball into a greased bowl and cover it with cling film. Let it rest at room temperature for 1.5 to 2 hours. If it's hot and humid, it will take less time. More time is needed if it's cold. It's been 1.5 hours and the dough has risen nicely, roughly doubled in size. Next, we will flour our bench and gently punch down the dough. Turn the dough out onto the bench and fold the sides up to form a ball. Flip the dough seam side down and cup your hands around the dough and in a circular motion, pull the dough together. Flip the dough onto your floured banneton seam side up. Try to seal the seam by pinching it together. It will probably come apart, but that's okay. We can fix it later. Let the dough rest covered for 30 minutes to an hour. You can use a clean towel to cover the dough, but today we are using cling wrap so you can see the rise on the video. Let's prep our bread oven by coating it with a thin layer of olive oil along the bottom. Use just enough to keep it from sticking. Flip the pan bottom onto the banneton and then flip it back over again onto the prep surface. This will place your seam side back down. Using a bread lime or a sharp knife, we are going to cut our design into the bread. Feel free to experiment with your designs. You're only limited by your imagination. Finally, let it bake at 450 degrees for 30 minutes, covered. After 30 minutes, we will reduce the temperature to 375 and cook for another 15 minutes, uncovered. There is no need to remove the loaf from the oven when you change the temperature. Just reduce to 375 and using a pot holder, remove the lid. You know the bread is done when it reaches an internal temperature of 200 degrees and the crust is golden brown. When the time is up, we can remove the loaf and place it on a cooling rack for 30 minutes. Now that the bread has cooled, we can see it has a beautifully soft texture and a chewy crust. This is a great all-around bread, and it isn't all that difficult to make. Hope you enjoyed this bake and will try it out for yourself. Feel free to reach out in the comments section if you have any questions along the way.